So, good morning from Scotland, or good afternoon in Singapore. Welcome to this Beyond Borders Scotland Singapore webinar brought to you by Sinergy, the Singapore Consortium for Engineering Biology, and the Industrial Biotechnology Innovation Centre, or IBioIC, based here in Scotland. My name is Kim Cameron. I'm one of the Senior Impact Managers at IBioIC, and I'll be hosting the session today. And I'm joined by Rachel Lowe, Industry Development Lead at Sinergy, and my colleague Liz Fletcher, Director of Impact and Deputy CEO at IBioIC. Liz and I connected with Rachel at World Biomarkets in the Netherlands earlier in the year, and it was immediately obvious from our conversation that there were significant touch points between bioeconomy activity in Scotland and in Singapore. And so we've developed today's event to share some information about both our organisations and activity in our respective countries, but more importantly, to showcase some fantastic examples of companies in our networks. And we really hope that this session will springboard further collaboration and engagement. So a few quick housekeeping notes before we begin. The session is being recorded and the recording will be shared afterwards. Please post your questions in the Q&A box at any time. We'll have a dedicated Q&A session after all the presentations have run towards the end of the webinar. And you're welcome to use the chat function to introduce yourselves, share any links or thoughts or any technical problems that you're having as we proceed. So a quick run through of our agenda. In a moment, I'll hand over to Rachel to give an introduction to Sinergy, followed by an introduction to IBioIC from Liz Fletcher. And then we'll move to the main part of our agenda, examples from Singapore and Scotland in three broad themes: waste valorization, the biopharma space, and agri-tech and biomaterials. And then, as I mentioned, we'll have a Q&A session, and then we'll wrap up in around an hour's time and just discuss briefly some next steps. So I'll stop sharing now and I'll hand over to Rachel for the first of our presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. So let me just share my slide here. So good morning or good afternoon to all the audience from wherever you are. Before I start, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to our counterpart at IBioIC for your dedication and collaboration, and also to Scottish Development International for your continued support. We would like to also thank the representative from Life Lab Resources, ChemT Biotechnology, and also Moja Bio from Singapore. We look forward to your presentation later. So I'm Rachel. I'm from the Singapore Consortium for Synthetic Biology or Engineering Biology, where we drive synthetic biology innovation and work to position Singapore as a global hub for bioeconomy. Synthetic biology or engineering biology is a platform technology that treats biology as an engineering system. Using the design, build, test, learn approach, it enables the programming of living organisms for application across many sectors. Across Singapore, we have built a dynamic and interconnected synthetic biology ecosystem. We are home to unique national assets, including a comprehensive microbial strain collection and a natural product library at A*STAR. As a co-founder of the Global Biofoundries Alliance, Singapore operates two state-of-the-art biofoundries that enable automated workflow and rapid prototyping. Our core strength includes host engineering, enzyme engineering, biotransformation and fermentation, as well as digital infrastructure and analytics to accelerate biological innovation. As Singapore's national consortium, Sinergy connects academia, industry, and key ecosystem partners. And over the past 9 years, we have built a community of over 30 industry members, enabled 29 collaborative projects, supported by close to 200 million Sing dollar in combined funding from government, industry, and in-kind contribution. And in Singapore, partnership usually take form of MOU, contract research agreement, research collaboration agreement, or corporate lab or joint lab. For higher impact industry engagement, typically RCA and joint lab tend to be preferred model due to its deeper collaboration structure. So in this slide, we showcase a range of industry collaboration across the Singapore ecosystem. And in this slide, I'd like to highlight one example. Number 4, our collaboration with Single Instrument enable the development of automated colony picking technology to standardize and accelerate high throughput screening has significantly increased R&D efficiency and scalability. On the other hand, this joint lab illustrates how industry and public research co-invest to build long-term biomanufacturing capability in Singapore. One example that I would like to highlight is our collaboration with Moja Bio on sustainable C1-enabled platform. And today we are very fortunate to have the colleague from Moja Biotech with us today, who will also be presenting later on advances in agrochemical biotechnology. Overall, through the effort to create platform to develop our ecosystem for synthetic biology, Synergy continue to be a key integrator and facilitator across the ecosystem to foster collaboration and build an international connected SynBio community locally and beyond. We actively participate in international conferences. We also host workshops, educational seminar, and webinar like this one to connect with global partner and strengthen cross-border collaboration. Although looking ahead, on 4th and 5th March, we'll be collaborating with World Biomarket to launch Bio-Innovation APAC in Singapore, the region's first dedicated biomanufacturing conference. We may be a lean team, but we are ambitious and committed to driving big, meaningful impact. So if you have any question for us, feel free to connect us by email or social media. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. That was great. So if you have any questions for Rachel, please do pop them in the Q&A box and we'll address those at the end of the session. So I'll ask Liz Fletcher now, Director of Impact and Deputy CEO at IBioIC, to deliver her presentation. Thanks, Liz.
I'm just going to check. Can you see that full screen, Kim?
Yes, all good.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, good day to everybody. Hey, that kind of covers all the bases. And thank you so much for all attending and for our speakers. It's a really great webinar, lots of really interesting content. And as Kim was saying, we met with Synergy at World Biomarkets, and there definitely are lots of, synergies, excuse the pun, between what we do as an organisation in Scotland and what Synergy does in Singapore. Although we have a slightly broader remix, we do focus broadly on industrial biotechnology rather than specifically engineering biology, but obviously there's a huge amount of overlap there. So very briefly, just to tell you a little bit about, I don't think my slide's moving. Let me see. Are the slides moving actually, Kim?
A little bit of a lag.
Okay, but they are. Sorry, just checking. They're not on my screen. So about IBioIC, we are again a networking and support organisation. We've been around for.
Sorry, Liz. No, we're still on the first one.
Okay, something going right here. Better?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, sorry guys. So we are a networking and support organisation. We've been around 11, 12 years now, so been very much part of the innovation ecosystem for Scotland. And we're all about fostering innovation, building connections between industry and academia, and nurturing talent as well. So it's really about accelerating the application of Scotland's world-class research and nurturing those innovators, those early stage ideas to get innovative products and services to the marketplace. And Scotland does have, has had for quite some time now, probably about 13 years, an ambition for industrial biotechnology as a sector. So we have a national plan, and so this does distinguish us from the rest of the UK. So we have our own national plan, it's supported by government, and that's really important, I think, for the work that we do. So we have an ambition by the end of this year to have over 200 companies working with biotechnology in some shape or form, and you'll hear from some of those today, with over £1 billion of turnover. So we are ambitious, and IBioIC is one of the actors in helping deliver this ambition for Scotland. So I guess if you want to summarise what we do really simply, we sort of have four areas of activity. The first is around supporting innovation, translation, and acceleration or scale up of innovative bio-based processes. We do lots of work around networks and partnerships, so webinars, events like today, challenge-based workshops, working within bringing industry and academia together to solve specific challenges. And as a team, we spend a lot of time going out and really trying to sell Scotland and our innovators. And of course, that's why we met Synergy at World Biomarkets, which I should say, we highly recommend. And as an organisation, we're hoping to have a Scottish representation at the next event in 2026. So if any Scottish companies on the call are interested in finding out more about World Biomarkets, please get in touch with us. We do lots of work to try and promote industrial biotechnology or the applications of biotechnology for companies around improving sustainability and novel valuable products. So lots of press, case studies, really trying to engage with the public as well as scientists and industry professionals. And last but not least, we also do a lot around skills and training. So we support college students through to graduate students, run several programs specifically around industrial biotechnology, and also importantly do CPD for people to upskill when they're in work. So, and these are all skills that are really relevant to industrial biotechnology. So if we grow our sector, we grow the need for talent and people that understand how to have the right skills to build the industry. So that's a really important part of what we do as well. So just to I guess, as evidence of the amount of activity that we do around supporting that industry, university, academic collaboration. Since we were created, we've supported, well, probably now over 170 projects. Those are industry academic collaborations with over £8 million of funding. And probably now around 100 companies that we support. It's a really big part of what we do, and also supporting spin-outs. So supported over 16 spin-outs and hoping to do more of that. You can join IBioIC. It's free to join. We have over 400 members, industry members, and many multiples of that of academic partners as well. We cover all sectors of biotechnology, completely agnostic of the type of biotechnology that you do. We have companies from Scotland, but also the UK and wider afield. And a large percentages of them are actually still quite small. I think this industry is still on a growth trajectory. A lot of companies are still in the very early stages of development. And indeed, that's kind of where our USP is, and that's where we provide the most support. So please do encourage you to come and join us. We won't bombard you with emails, I promise. Oops. Oh, sorry, gone up. Missed a slide here. So just, I guess, to give you a little bit of overview what goes on in Scotland, kinds of research. I think there's many areas which are really applicable to industrial biotechnology, including crop science. And we've got Jonathan from the James Hutton Institute come to talk a little bit about their capabilities. We have several world-class centres for data and also artificial intelligence. Fermentation and distillation, we're known for our whiskey, so we're really good at that. Aquaculture and marine biotechnology, we have a huge coastline, so a lot of expertise around not only seafood, fish, and also seaweed, for instance. Lots of research around dairy and animal health and One Health capabilities. So we have one of the largest collections of groupings of veterinary research in Europe, indeed. And last and definitely not least, we have a real strength, critical mass in engineered biology, especially centred around Edinburgh, which probably has the largest group of engineering biologists outside of London. And we've got Giovanni from Zythera coming to talk around one of the outputs of some of the exciting research that's going on there. So a shout out to them as well. And also, lastly, I really wanted to just give a shout out to our facilities. I know that's perhaps maybe not so relevant for our Singaporean guests because there's a long way to come, but we do have open access facilities which really support the scale up of bio-based processes. So IBioIC hosts an open access facility just outside Edinburgh. We can scale a bio-based process up to 300 litres, do downstream processing, and also do have a really good programme of CPD, so hands-on training on all different types of bioprocessing. So please do, if you are interested, get in touch with us. And I'd also like to give a shout out for what we have is actually a really unique facility in Edinburgh. It's called the Edinburgh Genome Foundry, and it does end-to-end design, build, test, and learn, highly automated robotics, gene assembly, and liquid handling. And it also has again, it's the only one in the UK that's open access. It's a Berkeley Lights beacon. So it's an optofluidic system that can do cell sorting. It's really amazing. So if you do have that kind of need, again, reach out and we'll connect you to the relevant people. And I think maybe Giovanni will speak about that later as well. So last but not, excuse me, not least, an invitation if you are in the area, if you are in Europe, please do come and join us at our conference. It's on March the 10th and 11th in Glasgow. We have over 400 people. It's the leading UK industrial biotechnology event, and next year we're running it in conjunction with the BBIA, which is a trade based product development. And it's a really great place to network and find out what's going on in the UK and make some really good connections. So yeah, last but not least, please do join us. You're very welcome. And I hope this webinar is really valuable, but also just the beginning of a conversation, not the end. And I'll pass back to Kim.
Thank you, Liz. That was great. Thank you. So now we're going to move on to the first of our company presentations. I'll hand over to Fergus Moore, co-founder of Revive.
Hi there, everyone. 2 seconds while I share my screen. Can everyone see that all right?
Yeah, all good.
Fantastic. So hi everyone. Firstly, thanks to IBioIC and SINERGY for putting this event together today and for having me. So I will just get going. So every year, 70 million tons of palm oil is produced worldwide. It's used in industries including cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and food and drink. But it's also one of the key drivers behind deforestation. What if there was an alternative that was sustainable, locally sourced, and did exactly the same job as palm oil? And what if the answer lay in your daily cup of coffee? I'm Fergus, and my co-founder Scott and I both worked in hospitality for several years, and we're sick of seeing endless amounts of coffee grounds being needlessly wasted. There are more than 500,000 tons of coffee grounds being created in the UK every single year, with the vast majority still going to landfill. We created Revive to change that. At Revive, we've developed a patented process to valorize spent coffee grounds and create valuable upcycled ingredients which can replace virgin materials like palm and coconut oil. We're also currently running an Innovate UK funded biotech project looking at extracting the protein fraction from spent coffee grounds as well to create sustainable peptides for skincare and food and drink as well. Coffee is and always has been only the first step for us, however, and we've already applied our process to other food waste streams like oats and brewery waste, further enhancing the value in our IP. So since founding Revive in 2015, we now have a process patent granted in the UK and have filed our application in a further 12 international territories, including Singapore. We've recently completed a 150 times scale pilot project with a manufacturing partner in France. And we have nearly 2 million in investment and grant funding and are engaging with world-leading companies who are interested in our products and processes. We've built a really experienced team with both founders graduating from the University of Strathclyde here in Glasgow, and have both been previously part of the prestigious Saltire Scholarship Programme here in Scotland. Our chairman, John, is the ex-CEO of Archangels and a prominent angel syndicate in Scotland. Harvey has over 20 years board level experience and previously led a waste management company to acquisition. And our CFO, Angela, comes from a scientific background, but now has more than 20 years experience as a chartered accountant. We've also built an incredibly strong core team spanning chemistry, industrial biotech, and marketing as well. So we're entering a really fast-growing market. I probably don't need to tell you that, but with the European skincare ingredient market currently worth 25 billion, the natural upcycled sector is the fastest growing market sector, growing at 15% annually. Market data and the discussions we've had with our potential customers has told us that both consumers and manufacturers are willing to pay a price premium for products, ingredients, and ingredients with proven positive environmental impacts like ours. So it's a key thing to note that our model plugs into an existing framework, really helping reduce barriers to entry. We'll work with established chemical companies to manufacture our ingredients. Following this, they'll either be sold directly or through distributors to skincare formulators, who then sell their formulations onto skincare brands. We're currently engaging with and have supplied samples to distributors in key market areas, including UK, France, Germany, and Italy. And have built a really strong pipeline of around 80 potential customers operating in distribution and manufacturing across Europe. So our international growth model is built on licensing our IP. The first licensing option would be food and beverage manufacturers who both produce spent coffee grounds but also have a need for more sustainable ingredients. That would be companies like Nestle and Asahi, both of which we are in discussions with. We can then plug our process directly into their existing manufacturing processes, creating a truly closed loop system. Secondly, we can look to license to resource management companies or chemical manufacturers. These companies will already have the existing infrastructure and capabilities to run our processes, and we're in advanced discussions with a Dutch waste management company called PreZero on a long-term licensing model like this. I wanted to quickly highlight there are other companies doing what we're doing in Europe, looking at valorizing spent coffee grounds. Our key differentiator is the scalability of our process. We're using fairly traditional chemistry techniques, meaning that we can outsource and license our manufacturing to large chemical plants rather than having to take on the capital expense of building our own plants. And secondly, our process has already been successfully applied to other waste streams, as I previously mentioned, whereas these other brands are focused solely on coffee. So before I wrap up, I think I've maybe gone a wee bit long. I apologise. I've always been told never to finish a presentation without an ask, so I actually have 3 asks today of everyone here. So firstly, if anyone on the call has any contacts there's a Singaporean company called A1 Environmental that are looking at recycling coffee grounds in Singapore to create a kind of biocomposite material. Any introduction there would be greatly appreciated. Secondly, if there's any kind of pilot scale chemical facilities in Singapore, again, that would be any introduction would be appreciated. As I said, we've patented our process in Singapore, so given that there is a company already collecting coffee grounds in Singapore, it feels like a great opportunity to connect and collaborate. And finally, we are a startup. Capital is always king, so any introductions to Singaporean impact investors would be extremely welcome. So we know that we have the opportunity to make coffee the world's first truly sustainable commodity. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, Fergus. That's great to finish with an ask there as well. So hopefully we'll get some good responses for you.
Fingers crossed.
So thanks. I'll hand over now to Edward Chia, Managing Director of LifeLab Resources in Singapore.
Hi, good afternoon from Singapore. Thank you. May I just share my screen? Can I just confirm that my screens are on?
All looking good, Edward. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So good afternoon from Singapore. Thank you so much, everyone, for inviting LifeLab Resources. My name is Edward, and I founded and currently lead a company called LifeLab Resources. For me personally, every enterprise must have a mission. It has a purpose, and the purpose and mission has to serve beyond profits. It has to serve humanity. It has to serve our planet. So at LifeLab Resources, our mission is clear. Our mission is to enable ecosystem partners, our clients, to circularize the entire food system. And we begin with a specific problem of food waste. In Singapore, as a city-state, we do generate quite a high amount of food waste, mainly because of supply dislocation in terms of food supply and actually food demand. And our mission is to upcycle all this food waste into nutritious aquaculture feed support farmers, and then offtake the farm produce and resupply it upstream back to our upstream clients and circularizing the entire food system. The question would then be, how do we do it? Let me share my next slide. So first, we focus on food waste as unavoidable. So our starting mission is, if food waste can be avoided, that should be avoided, and that should be done through inventory tracking and making sure that procurement and consumption is aligned. Having said that, and having worked within the F&B industry personally and working with clients such as hotels, shopping malls, large university campuses, airports, there are always unavoidable food waste. Food waste, unlike other types of waste, reacts quite differently, mainly because of its bioactive nature. So compared to plastics, glass, or metal, food waste degrades very, very quickly. As it degrades, it creates toxins. So for us, our process starts with treatment, making sure that we harvest food waste as quickly as possible, we treat it, and the way we treat it is through a proprietary technology called a reactive ionization technology. We basically use the oxygen in the atmosphere, ionize it in a certain way to create hydroxyl radical, and the hydroxyl radical achieves three critical outcomes. It removes moisture, it emits pathogens, but retains the nutrients. After 24 hours, all types of mixed food waste becomes a powdery substrate that's pathogen-free, moisture-free, but nutrient-rich. That's step one. And then step two is the biotech transformation and upcycling. The substrate that's been treated becomes feedstock for microbial protein cultivation through a solid state fermentation method. We process it at our biorefinery via our bioreactors, and I just want to emphasize it's a solid state fermentation process because we found that being the most economical and achieves the highest yield. After fermentation, we create microbial protein substrate, which is then further formulated into aquaculture feed. Currently, we focus on formulating feed for omnivorous fish species, namely pangasius and tilapias, because these are the two fish species that as much is cultivated within the Southeast Asian region. Secondly, they are omnivorous because mixed food waste comprises both plant proteins and animal proteins. So focusing on fish species that are omnivorous achieves the highest outcome, best outcome. And third, importantly, staying true to our mission of creating a better planet, it's also important that whatever feed we produce, we ensure that the livestock, as it's being cultivated, produces the least carbon footprint. So across the entire livestock types, fish produces the least carbon as it's being cultivated as well. And then we work closely with farm partners, we actually purchase the fish, and we then resell it back to our upstream clients, such as the hotels, airports, shopping malls, that we have actually initially worked with them to process their food waste. So the entire client value is that we actually provide a full food circular solution. I'll share a video that would really illustrate the entire process that I just shared about. So, may I just confirm that the video is playing?
Yeah, it's all looking good from this end.
Okay. So this video is actually produced by one of our clients called SEPS, and they are a major airline catering company. The food waste you're about to see on screen is actually Singapore Airlines food waste. So the first step is always segregating food waste. So we always advise our clients segregate food waste, remove metals, plastics. So you see on this screen here, the aluminum foil that's coming off the planes is removed. And importantly, you would see that we have great versatility. All types of mixed food waste, whether they are noodles, rice, buns, meat, vegetables, even coffee grounds, that can all go into a food waste bin. All of this mixed food waste is then loaded into a machine called the Waste Master. And this is the machine that creates hydroxyl radical through the ionization of oxygen. The machine takes 24 hours to treat the mixed food waste, and after 24 hours, what we achieve is with this, a powdery substrate that is pathogen-free, moisture-free, but nutrient-rich. So just to reiterate how we do it, we just take the oxygen in the atmosphere, we ionize it, it gets introduced into the machine, and the hydroxyl radical eliminates pathogens such as E. coli, Salmonella, remove moisture, and importantly retains the nutritional value of the mixed food waste. The substrate is now inert, it can be stored, we have enough time to process it, it doesn't degrade any further. And you will also see on screen here, there are some black plastic substances. There will always be accidents, there will never be a full removal of contamination. But the amazing thing about this machine is it does not break down inorganic material. It doesn't shred, it doesn't grind it down any further. These inorganic materials are large enough for us to sieve it out at our biorefinery, which is the next step you will see in the video. So the substrates are being transported to our biorefinery, and we always see start the process with contamination such as metal, pieces of plastics. We always get spoons, metal forks, and knives that's being sieved. And then after sieving it, we will then put it into our bioreactor to ferment and create microbial protein. We will then further formulate it and actually eventually pelletize it into fish feed pellet. This is now entirely done in Singapore. We are working with top urban aquaponics farm. And you see in this screen video part here, we actually feed freshwater tilapias. We can actually harvest and eat the fish, but for this farm, we are an aquaponics farm. So they keep the fish droppings provides nutrients in the water for leafy vegetables to grow. And they will then harvest these vegetables. We will purchase it and we will then resell it back to our upstream client, such as SATs or our hotel clients. So either the fish or the vegetables can be harvested, and that's how we provide a full circular economy solution to our esteemed list of clients. So what a kind of impact we have achieved since 2023, we have actually averted and reduced more than 100,000 tons of CO2 emissions. In regards to carbon CO2 emissions abated, there is actually two parts to our equation. The first part is actually CO2 abated attributed to food waste reduction. So typically in Singapore, if there is no treatment, food waste is being sent to an incinerator, it's being burned, and then it creates carbon emission. By capturing food waste and treating it, we actually reduce haulage, reduce the need to incinerate food waste. So that's the first part of the carbon equation. The second part of the carbon savings equation is that these materials are upcycled into aquaculture feed and replacing virgin resources like fish meal, soybean meal, wheat meal. And that is also a very substantial part of carbon reduction, which actually the animal livestock feed world is now grappling with. How can it be more sustainable? So by putting two parts of the equation together, we have achieved more than 100,000 tons of CO2 emissions abated since 2023. Food waste is being upcycled into new food resources. Currently, we are focusing on either leafy vegetables on our aquaponics farm or aquaculture livestock such as pangasius and tilapias. I would also like to make special mention that we are licensed and approved by the Singapore Food Agency. And this is actually very important and landmark because prior to us, the Singapore government does not allow mixed food waste to be upcycled into animal feed. I believe that is still the case in large part of Europe as well. And then you may ask, why did the Singapore government allows us? And it's really because through the Novel Food Framework, through our HACCP process, we have assured the licensing regulators there is pathogen control, there's pathogen treatment, and we have a high degree level of food safety. Enhanced food security and reduction of food waste. We are currently at commercial scale. We are serving 7 hotels, the largest hotel in Singapore, Marina Bay Sands, Fairmont Swiss Hotel, Grand Hyatt, Andaz Hotel in 7 shopping malls, University Campus, and also Changi Airport. We are revenue generating. We have achieved 2 million of revenue this year alone, and we are projected to break even and maybe even eke out a small profit in our third year of full operations. I'll also end off with a bit of an ask. We are now seeking partners. If there are any partners who are interested in the intersection of more sustainable feed production through microbiology, through fermentation, we love to continue to research and collaborate. We are also fundraising to scale our biorefinery plant to a commercial scale. So if there are any impact investors keen on our mission in terms of establishing food circularity, and reducing carbon footprint, we'd love to have a further chat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Edward. And the video was really good to give us a good sense of how your process operates, so it's really helpful. I'm going to hand over now to the first of our speakers operating in the biopharma space, Ling Wu, President and Co-founder of ChemT Biotech. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim, for introductions. I open my mics and share my screens here. Just give me a second. The screen is showing up now.
Looks like it's thinking about it.
Yeah,
it just needs to presentation mode and then should fill the screen. Yeah, all good.
Okay, great. So many thanks to Synergy and IBioIC's invitation to present our company. And good morning and good afternoon to all the audience. So we are ChemT Biotech. We are a tech bio company in Singapore, and you're building our AI-driven virtual cells model for a better cell control. So when I say why it is important for a cellular control, when we're looking at the domain in the biologics, is there's actually existing of this very high cost therapeutics called biologics. So unlike the traditional medicines, which is like a pill, like aspirins and Panadol that you can think of, they're all made by chemical synthesis. But actually, biologics is actually growing to be a bigger players in the modern medicines, and that is including antibodies, insulins, mRNA vaccines like the COVID-19 vaccines or CAR T cell therapies. Unlike those traditional medicine by manufacturing, biologics is actually manufactured by a particular type of format is manufactured by a cell. Because the cell does not really listen to you very carefully, they will probably die away halfway while they are actually proliferating in the bioreactors. So that actually overall cost, increasing their high cost for manufacturing this particular of medicines. In particular cases, for example, this like a CAR T cell therapy, the overall price tag for this medicine is $500,000 for a patient to receive one dose. So our missions and our vision is really how can we to lower the cost to manufacture this modern type of medicines in a more efficient way. So we come up with these solutions. How can we reduce the cost by 30 to 40% with AI solutions? In our company, we built this two ways. One is we built this AI platforms, which is a name called Cellmo, which currently is internally as our R&D powerhouse. And of this AI platform, we'll develop a product. It's a small molecule that is actually adding into the culture when you want the cell to produce in biologics. And this small molecule can actually take on actions to the cell to boost their manufacturing efficiency in a great scale. These platforms not only can focus on biologics manufacturing, it actually, because it is controlled the cell in a better performance, so it will be applied by multiple areas, for example, synthetic biology, agriculture, cell therapy, and for now, we are focusing on biologics manufacturing. With these solutions that we provided, the AI platform we built that is 24 faster than the current solutions to manipulate the cell, find a solution to manipulate the cells, and replace the try and error and remove the wet lab experiments because it's actually precisely predict what happened to the cells. And then Optis AI platform is a true product we deliver to our customer. It's a small molecule. So it can take on the action to the targets and then control the cell to a certain behavior. So the first product we have developed is called Camplify. It's applied into the CAR T and T cell therapy manufacturing. It can directly cutting down the cost by 30 to 40% and reducing the time by 50%. Besides just lowering the cost, it actually increased therapeutic efficacies. We have been testified and validated by our customers that increase the therapeutic efficacy by 2 to 3 times. So how will we actually do this particularly? So we collect various of the information, particularly the omics data, like genomics, proteomics, or transcriptomics surrounding a particular site, a particular cell. And in our own lab, we also do a large database curations. This is a gene cell perturbation database. So we zoom into a single cell level and collect all this omics information surrounding this single cell in a high throughput manner. Overall, these data sets become our data source, and we put it into our proprietary algorithm as well. This is comprising with deep learning, reinforced learning, and large language model. And the outputs you can have is the system knows what would be the best gene targets to manipulate so they can fulfill your defined problem when you wanted to do the biologics manufacturing. And then after you identify the targets, and then it automatically generates the small molecule that can act on these targets and overall leads to a certain cell behavior control. So this is the process how we developed by the first product. So the system accurately predict how a particular gene that once it's been manipulated and how the cell performance will be changed. For example, in the T cell space, that it predicts that once the gene A, which is the target where it has been shortlisted, it can expand much stronger, and then you can keep the memory, enhance the necessary memory, which is important for the therapeutic efficacies. Because the defined problem we wanted to solve is how can we actually expand those cells in a higher level, but also preserve their memory phenotype so that it can actually preserve their or increase their therapeutic efficacies. And then you can see the true data that compared with the model simulation is really similar to each other. So that testifies the robustness of the AI systems. The next step after we have shortlisted the targets, then we design this small molecule. It's like a drug. You can imagine it is a drug for cell. And they will actually based on this the protein structure and 3D structure of the target, and then de novo design the small molecule that can actually either inhibit or increase the function of the target. So through the whole process that we from in silico target validation, this is done by the virtual cell simulations, and then we generate in silico by the small molecule lead generations and to the wet lab verification through these loops, and then we generate the product, which is the first one is called Camplify. And Camplify is working on T cell manufacturing. We are working on other pipelines such as the CHO cells, which is for the antibody productions. And maybe later in the futures, we're working on for other aspects as well. So far, we have established wide broad collaborationships and around 25 customers globally, that including big pharmas, CDMOs, and the hospital as well. So the key takeaways that I wanted to finish my presentation is ChemT is actually the first kind using the AI to design cell modulating small molecules to enhance the biological manufacturing. Within a very short amount of time, we are able to gather a lot of attractions in the field, validating the robustness of the whole systems. And other than biological manufacturing, it can apply to other domains like synthetic biologies, agriculture, and beyond. We are very happy to discuss with all the interested parties, companies, and investors as well. This is our contact address, and I will finish over here. Thanks.
Thank you, Bingo. That was really insightful. I'm going to hand over now to Giovanni Stracquadagno, the CEO and co-founder of Zythera.
All right, I hope the slides are working fine. Thanks again for the opportunity today to present our company, Zytera, that aims at designing next generation therapies for lysosomal storage diseases. This is an initiative that comes out of the labs that we have at the University of Edinburgh, run by myself and Susan Rosser. We are both professors of engineering biology here, with a common interest in genome and protein engineering, but I come from a more AI background, and Susan obviously with lots of biologics experience. And we have been later joined by Yves Miller-Rogis, who is our Chief Medical Officer, working here in the Inherited Metabolic Disease Unit, who has a very long expertise on lysosomal storage disorders, clinical trials, and biomarkers. And we are not a new team, as you would guess. This is a long-standing collaborations that they raised a significant amount of funding and published over 100 papers across the usual outlets. And so as the mission, we have the goal of transforming life of next generation through next generation therapies of lysosomal storage disease patients. And if you don't know about this class of disease, they are genetic disease that are caused by inherited mutations in activating the lysosomal enzymes at the recycling center of the cells. And when these enzymes do not work, you get toxic accumulation of lipids, glycoproteins, and mucopolysaccharides. These are rare and ultra rare diseases. The prevalence is pretty broad, between 1 in 5,000 and 1 in 8,000, but it's increasing because the newborn screening is becoming routine in the clinic, and especially in UK, where there's the commitment to do newborn screening on all the newborns by 2030. And so, as a disease, they are chronic and lifetime, life-limiting conditions. They are lethal in most cases. And as you would expect for any genetic disease, they affect babies, children, but also adults, depending on the onset. And when it comes to treatment and management of this disease, there's no cure, but we manage the accumulation of this toxic substrate by injecting patients with a recombinant copy of the defective enzyme. And this goes under the umbrella enzyme replacement therapies, which are the standard of care, but come with a lot of problems, like frequent intravenous infusions, which take a lot of time, and usually it's 4 hours every week or every 2 weeks. But also the efficacy is very limited and largely depends on the specific enzyme and the affected organs. It's an high molecule market opportunity, and when you look at this, the size of this market is literally driven by the unmet clinical needs that we face in the clinic. With 80% of this disease currently have no treatment whatsoever, and the remaining 20% for which we have an indication basically do not work. And we estimated that the ERT market size is going to grow about 20 billion by 2030, but actually it's an underestimation because it's based only on the treatment that are currently in the clinic. And if you're looking at competitors and actors active in this area, they are all high revenue generating companies, even if they have 2 or 3 products, such as Chiesi or BioMarine, all in the billion-dollar range. And why is that? Because, as I said, there's an increasing incidence and prevalence, but also there's a very favorable supportive regulatory framework that goes under the name of Orphan and Ultra Orphan Scheme that supports and incentivizes the development of these drugs. And so we want to develop next generation ERTs because the current one are usually characterized by poor stability, which is the cause of that basically requires the enzyme to be injected so frequently in the patients, but also are highly immunogenic, causing the formation of anti-drug antibodies in the patients, which ultimately requires stopping the treatment with the consequences that you can imagine. And also is often difficult to deliver these proteins to the right tissues and the right cells. And so there's a problem of bioavailability that is quite significant. And so we're trying to overcome these limitations by developing new recombinant proteins that are highly stable, very low immunogenic, and also very easy to uptake in the cells. And to do that, we developed a platform, if you want, that allow us to redesign the proteins with target properties using enzymes and engineering biology. And our approach is very much inspired by engineering biology, design, building, test, and learning cycle, where we design our mutant of our target enzyme using our AI engine, which is extremely good at picking up gain of function mutations that then are prioritized for in vitro screening using a two-headed system. We use an high throughput system based on PK pastoris to identify functional enzymes. And when we have lead candidates, we make them in Chinese hamster ovary cell lines, which are the standard de facto for biologics manufacturing. And then, of course, we characterize our molecules in terms of stability, catalytic activity, and immunogenicity, and feedback this information in our AI to further improve, if needed, our design. And so with this in place, we now have developed 2.2 potential therapies for Fabry disease that we think can actually be the next molecule used in the clinic. And I want to show you this hockey stick plot because it's exactly what you would expect from a protein engineering exercise, where on the y-axis you can see the activity of the enzymes that we screen for. And on this far left hand, you have the current treatment, and the rest of them pretty much are our variants with an astonishing 97% of hit rate in our libraries and a 15-fold increase in activity compared to the wild type. And so this was all achieved in roughly 2 weeks, and we are in the process of submitting our patent in UK and US. And so where we are going from there, obviously, we are progressing the Fabry disease candidate, and we are onboarding as a company new indications targeting lysosomal storage disorders of the bones and the brain. And these are 3 indications with a very clear unmet clinical need and also very much a high revenue target, as we are looking at up to 2 million per year per patient for lifetime. And so to do all this work, we had to raise a substantial amount of money starting in 2021 with my EPSRC fellowship and the support follow on by IBioIC and EPSRC again with Scottish Enterprise helping us kickstarting commercial operations. And more recently, the establishment of Susan's mission hub on advanced therapeutics. And so roughly we have raised more than 4.2 million to get to this point. And using the project within Scottish Enterprise, we come up with a business model where we are pushing forward, where we want to keep discovery in-house, doing the whole ERT engineering and in vitro validation and initial IP protections, and take on the preclinical studies in animal models and do IND fillings. And at this point, I guess it's common in this space to have a two-headed system where we can go, and we're thinking to go to a licensing route where we co-develop targets and indications with established pharma partners. And we can also go down the route of commercializing our own therapy and doing all the way through clinical trial and manufacturing distributions. And we are already in advanced discussion with Eli Lilly on developing new therapies, and with Fujifilm Diosynth, we are very keen to support our journey through clinical trials and manufacturing. And so I would like to stop here and just say that if you want to make a difference for rare disease patients, please do get in touch. We are more than happy to talk to anybody.
Thanks, Giovanni. That's great. Thank you. So we've been a bit ambitious this morning. We're running a little bit behind schedule, trying to squeeze all the presentations in. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them offline, and hopefully you'll be able to stay with us for the last 2 presentations. If not, a recording of the session will be available, so you'll be able to pick up on anything you missed there. So now I'll hand over to Justin Tan, Senior Scientist at Mojia Bio in Singapore.
Hi, everyone. All right. I'll try to keep this brief. I know we're going, a bit over time, so let me try and get through this as quickly as I can, but get you all the important information. All right. So as we know, the vast majority of manufacturing right now is done by chemical manufacturing. And so I'm here today to tell you more about the way that Moja Bio is revolutionizing the way that we approach biomanufacturing in the agri-food, chemical, and biomaterial space. All right, chemical manufacturing is highly efficient, very well established, but there's some limitations that are starting to show in today's political and economic landscape, right? First of which, of course, we know everyone has talked about the environmental concerns that stem from the plant's use of and storage and release of hazardous chemicals and greenhouse gases. They also require large amounts of energy for the high pressures and temperatures they need for their processes, and they need to operate on a huge scale, on large economies of scale, in order to maintain, depend, and they depend. That means that they're highly dependent on the global logistics and trade networks for the extreme volumes of feedstocks that they need on a daily basis, right? And ultimately, they require a lot of money, billions of dollars in investment, and very long construction times, which limits the number, which countries and corporations can afford to build and run these plants. In today's economic and political landscape, with increased deglobalization and fragmented global supply chains, we need a new way to approach the ever-increasing demand for products. So enter industrial biomanufacturing, right? So I'm sure many of you have seen this before. This is one of the most successful examples of biomanufacturing, the bioethanol plants. This pervasive all across the US and Brazil. And what makes it work is that there's a lot of corn and sugarcane in US and Brazil respectively, and that's where the substrate for biomethanol is glucose. So interestingly, another thing that we see is that if you look at the average size of bioethanol plants versus the average size of petroleum plants, bioethanol plants are over 100 times smaller on average, and they can still compete in terms of economics with this. So because in essence, you're now using the factory is now a small, tiny microbial cell, and the use of biology for manufacturing allows efficient production at much lower scales compared to traditional chemical manufacturing. Because many of you might ask, biomanufacturing has been done for years, decades even. So what's so revolutionary about what Moja Bio has to offer? So that's why I want to say that traditional biomanufacturing also comes with its own limitations, right? I like to draw the analogy to subtractive manufacturing, which is the primary way that we do almost all manufacturing nowadays. In subtractive manufacturing, you take a large block of material, you cut it down, trim it down to the shape that you need, like machining a part or building a furniture like a chair. You always start with a much bigger piece of raw material than you end up with, and resulting in a lot of waste, a lot of time and effort being used to make that. So almost all biomanufacturing today is subtractive biomanufacturing because it's based on sugar or glucose. Sugar is convenient because it's readily available from agriculture, and cells love glucose. They take it up and anytime you give it to them. But the issue is that microbes have evolved for billions of years to use glucose for everything, like growth, for energy generation, right? And trying to rewire microbes, like our previous presenter talked about just now, is to make your product instead of just growing is really, really difficult. It's very time consuming, it's very costly. So because of that, each bacteria has to be separately engineered and fine-tuned for each product, leading to very long R&D timelines and very low flexibility at the end of the day when you want to pivot and make different products. Even then, a large portion of the sugar still ends up going for growth. So, you end up wasting a lot of your glucose. Additionally, the other issue is that another reason why this is called subtractive biomanufacturing is because glucose, even though it's very accessible metabolically, is actually quite low and it's quite a poor substrate energetically compared to many of the industrially relevant products that we are looking at, such as alcohols or fatty acids or hydrocarbons. Right? What that means is that in order to make those products, you need to end up burning much of your glucose into carbon dioxide to produce the energy required to make those products. In fact, when you look at many of the common products that are being made industrially, the carbon basis lies somewhere around 60-70% the carbon yield is around 60-70%, meaning that about 30% of your glucose is just being burnt off as carbon dioxide. Lastly, the unfortunate reality is that sugar comes from agriculture, and that's linked to the price of fuel and also indirectly competes with our food production needs. On the other hand, what we have here at Moja Bio is what we call additive biomanufacturing. Additive manufacturing is a relatively recent trend, such as in 3D printing, where your materials are precisely added to exactly where you need it to produce the part you desire without any waste and without any additional losses. So what we have at Moja Bio is a proprietary CN+ biotechnology, which allows us to do just that by making use of low-cost C1 substrates and C2 substrates like methane, methanol, formic acid, or ethylene glycol, and all of which are byproducts from other processes such as the treatment of agricultural waste or generated using renewable electricity. This process was developed by Dr. Ramon Gonzalez at Rice University with over 15 years of research backing, multiple patents and papers in high-profile journals like Nature, Science, and PNAS. And using this process, we can iteratively build up molecules one carbon at a time, just like in 3D printing. And because of the iterative platform, the same enzymes or site variants of those enzymes can be reused for multiple products, allowing us to reach pretty much any product that we want in the market and do the R&D for that very quickly and cheaply. Lastly, the use of high energy compounds like methanol means that unlike the issues we had with using glucose, we always have sufficient energy thermodynamically to produce almost any product that is relevant in industry today. Of course, what we're describing here is just the biochemistry behind it. Our platform actually entails not just the biochemistry, but the entire process philosophy to allow this additive biomanufacturing to happen. Right. One of the biggest laws that we talked about previously is that cells like to grow, and the production of biomass is actually a waste when it comes to traditional biomanufacturing. The way that we do it at Moja Bio is called something we call orth-bio or orthogonal bio, where we want to keep the production as orthogonal to growth as possible. How we do that is that we grow our cells in a small growth tank, where we give it glucose and everything it needs to grow, all the optimal conditions for growth. And using our latest advances in high cell density growth, we get really high cell density. We produce a lot of cells in there, and then we can then aliquot this into much bigger bioconversion tanks. And in these bioconversion tanks, we can feed our substrate, which is the C1 compounds such as methanol. There's methanol, water, nothing else. And typically cells can't grow in methanol. So we eliminate growth, any losses to biomass in there. Using this short pathways that Dr. Ramon Gonzalez developed, there's pretty much no byproducts and very little respiration going on. So essentially, we just have a direct path from feedstock going to product. Additionally, taking a leaf out of the book from chemical manufacturing industry, which use catalysts for most of their product, we also use the cells like biocatalysts. We take the cells having gone into the bioconversion tank can actually be recycled and reused again in order to reduce the cost of producing the cells in the first place. And using our process, we found that if we can reuse the cells up to 2,000 hours without almost any loss of activity after that. In summary, what we have at Moja Bio is a technology platform which makes use of C1 feedstocks from renewable sources like agricultural waste or carbon-free energy, and this goes through our additive biomanufacturing process known as CN+ Bio. This enables us to reach a large swath of industrially relevant product in our pipeline, which we have developed either internally or in collaboration with partners. Things like diols, vitamins, acids, and diamides, right? And we actually have, in the short time that we've been active, we have produced quite a few products in our pipeline: 1,3-PDO, methionine, beta-alanine, PDA, and some of these are already being produced with partners that we know. Overall, we've done our calculations, our math, and we found that this has resulted in over 60-75% savings in CO2 emissions and energy, bringing 50% lower production costs in companies. We are represented globally: Shanghai, Florida, and Singapore, and we have a production facility in Guang'an. And I'll ask right now, we're going to focus on polymers, agri-chemicals, and aroma and care. We bring the CM Plus Bio platform. We have R&D facilities across the world, and we have a production plant. But what we're looking for is, people that can direct our focus our attention, I guess, focus our capabilities, who can identify products that we can use using AI, or who have market demands, who provide renewable feedstocks, or provide co-development project funding. And lastly, if there's a need for production, we can also provide a CDMO. We can act as a CDMO for production facilities here. So thank you so much for the presentation. I apologize for going over time.
Thank you, Justin. That was great. I'll hand over now to our final speaker, Jonathan Snape, head of the James Hutton Limited, commercial arm of the James Hutton Institute here in Scotland.
Thank you, Kim. I'll just try and share my slides. Is that sharing the correct slide, please, Kim?
Yes, that's you. You're all good. I think, can you go into full screen mode?
Oh, I'm not in full screen mode. I thought I was. I'll try a different one. Okay, is that full screen mode now?
That's us. Yep, all good.
Great. Thank you for the invitation to present today. I'll be talking about some of the services that can be offered through the James Hutton Institute. So, the James Hutton Institute is there to employ a multidisciplinary approach to address global problems. And we have access to about 500 plus scientists. And what we basically do is we utilize our knowledge of plants, and then specifically their interactions with the environment, to do a variety of different things. That includes breeding climate resilient crops, utilizing latest developments in breeding technologies such as gene editing, but we can also predict the performance of plants and a range of germplasm under future climate change scenarios. And we can also optimize and explore new production systems for food, plants, and bioactives, specifically looking at totally controlled environmental agriculture and what's often known as vertical farming. And we've also have the ability to link to high throughput phenotyping platforms through to genotyping, and then linking the two through high performance computing and using AI tools. So I'll just mention briefly what we can do on gene editing. We do gene editing on a range of different crops, primarily barley, potatoes, and berries, because they're crops that are important for Scotland. And again, looking at a range of different traits, which I've mentioned there. Now, we're interested in talking to third parties, working with them and looking at sort of using gene editing as a tool in other crops or other traits for the same crops. And I say it's really, we see gene editing is not an end in its own right. It's part of the whole, it's another tool to be used in breeding, because it can only be used for certain traits, but we're integrating that into a more holistic view of plant breeding. Next, I wanted to talk something about the Advanced Plant Growth Centre. And there we've got the ability to go from genotype to phenotype to product. Now that product, it could be a climate resilient crop. It could be a protein, and we're interested in alternative proteins, and we're part of the National Alternative Protein Innovation Consortium. Or it could be a medicinal product. So this is the sort of the UK Centre of Expertise for Controlled Environment Agriculture and Phenotyping, and is there to support innovation in these areas. And that's where we encourage customers, companies to come on site, use these facilities, and sort of develop new innovations and new technologies. But what it can actually do is we do a a range of different imaging, hyperspectral, etc., in a very controlled environment. We can grow crops in growth chambers where we can tightly control temperature over a very wide range from 5 degrees to 40 degrees. But we can also control CO2, which is a fairly unique ability to be able to do it and go up to very high levels of CO2 towards the levels that have been predicted in future climate change projections. So this gives us the ability to sort of look at how crops and plants in general are going to perform in the future, given the sort of changing climate environment. Breeding takes time, so you're always breeding not for the environment now, but what the environment's going to be like in 10, 20, 30 years' time. So this is a facility that's available for use for third parties for a range of different applications. And as I say, it's not just a standalone facility, it's linked into other extensive analytical capabilities, again, for looking for specific bioactives and how their levels change in different growing environments, as well as all the genotyping activities that we do as well. So finally, I just want to mention one other area, which is related to using agricultural waste. This is a collaboration with a company called Cellicom. It's a very busy slide, I realize, so I'm not going to go in detail, but just give you an overview of what we're trying to do. So we take agricultural waste and we can produce cellulose out of it, and sort of high value cellulose with a range of different applications. But then we use our knowledge of viruses and viral nanoparticles to improve the functionality of that material. And that's done by linking the viruses to the surface of this material to import various different functions, and that could be things like antimicrobial. It can be to make them reduce the make them fire retardant, is what I'm trying to say, as well as make them hydrophobic or hydrophilic. There's really a wide range of ways in which we can use sort of our knowledge of viral nanotechnology to improve or change the functionality of these cellulose materials. And again, we're interested in talking to third parties for looking at applications in a range of different areas. At the moment, we're focusing on food packaging, but we think there are applications certainly in medicinal products or devices where you need sort of special functionality for the materials there. So again, very interested in talking to companies in that area. So it's really a very high level overview of the sort of things we can do. Be happy to share the slides with everybody else and sort of discuss this in more detail when we have more time. Anyway, thank you very much and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I shall stop sharing and hand back to Kim.
Thank you. So thanks for staying with us, everyone. I know that time has run away from us a little bit this morning, and we've had to kind of remove the opportunity for you to ask questions online. But if you do have any questions for any of the speakers, or indeed for Synergy or IBioIC, you can see contact details for myself and Rachel on screen just now, hopefully. So please do reach out to us. Hope you've enjoyed presentations and feel inspired to engage and explore opportunities further with both Synergy and IBioIC networks. Thanks again to all of our speakers and to everyone who's worked so hard to deliver today's session. And thank you all for coming along and bearing with us. Yes, this is the start of a conversation, hopefully. So watch this space. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Kim.